Hello, fellow book nerds. Welcome to the Sweet and Bitter Magic review. This is another dedicated review I do. If you don't know, I always review a new release for the month, and you can vote on what you want that book to be in my releases of the month video. And you've chosen Sweet and Bitter Magic for our April book. So I was quite excited. This sounded really fun. Sweet and Bitter Magic is a YA sapphic fantasy, and we follow Tamsin, who is a witch. And unfortunately, at the age of 12, she was expelled from this witch academy, this whole witch world. So basically there's the normal world, and then witches live within, and within is kind of like separated by this magical forest that only witches can pass. Basically she committed a crime, and because of that she could never go back to the witchlands, and she was cursed, and her curse was that she can never feel love. And this was not just romantic or familial love, but this really includes things like tasting your food, appreciating beauty, even the beauty of a sunshine, things like that. So she's not able to feel any of that. The only way she can get a glimpse or this feeling of love and appreciation is if she takes other people's love and kind of uses it to power herself. So she's gotten by through the years by making deals with people who want some favor from the witch, so they will come and she will take their love in return. That's Tamsin. And then we have Ren, who's our other protagonist, and she lives in a village, and her father's been quite sick for quite a long time. Him and Ren's mother had another child, and that child died because of magic. That really scarred them, and then the mother died, and because of that he's been very depressed and quite sick, and Ren has been tasked with protecting him her whole life. But she actually is something called a source. So a source is not a witch, but the source is basically pure magic. So the source can like power a witch but can't throw spells herself. So she is supposed to go to the witchlands to get educated, because it's actually illegal for witches to just like live away from the witchlands, because untrained witches are dangerous, even sources as well. So she has to hide her magic, hide the fact that she's a source, and she lives with her father. However, the land is experiencing this sickness, where the sickness comes and it takes people's memories, they don't know who they are, and then they lose their minds, and it's very powerful dark magic at play. Ren's father actually falls ill, so she goes to the witch Tamsin and asks her to go with her on an adventure to the witchlands to find the witch who's responsible for the dark magic and help her end the curse. Tamsin agrees to this, but as a payment she wants Ren's love for her father. So that's basically our kickoff point, and like I said, it's a sapphic romance, so Tamsin and Ren do develop like enemies / kind of don't like each other, two lovers. Well, the whole enemies to lover is tricky because Tamsin can't even feel love, so it's not like she's warm to anyone. So like I said, I was pretty excited for this one because it sounded fun, and I thought the whole idea of her needing to give up the love of her father in order to save him was just such a excruciatingly sad idea. This is actually a standalone. I quite like standalones because I feel like I don't have time to read all of these series, so I can appreciate a standalone if it's really well done. I did enjoy this book. I think it was pretty good. It did not blow me away, and I think this is because it is really a YA fantasy, and that's not in itself anything bad at all, because I used to love YA fantasies, but I just feel like I'm moving away from that a little bit, and I find adult fantasies more compelling. So I still keep trying to go back to YA and try to find new favorites, and sometimes I do, but a lot of times I find that I actually prefer adult fantasies. So if you're like me, because I know a lot of people watching are in that 18 to 34 range. So if you're kind of my age, this is just something to be aware of. Maybe you're older and still really enjoy young YA. That's completely fine, and I think then you will enjoy this book because it's a compelling story about love and what it means to love. And for that, I did enjoy it. But like I said, I think I prefer adult fantasies now, or older feeling YA, and this one definitely feels on the younger side. Not quite middle grade, that's not what I'm saying, but maybe like 16, 17. I mean, that's the age of the main characters anyway. The main characters do feel older than 17, not gonna lie, especially Tamsin. I think the fact that she was exiled when she was 12 felt really harsh to me, but that means that from when she was 12 to 17, she had to fend for herself since basically she was a child. So she does feel very, very mature. Normally I talk about this later, but I think this actually really brings us well into characters. We have two main characters and we only ever hear from them, and it's definitely their story. Everyone else is kind of just a background noise, really. And I feel like Tamsin I found kind of compelling because I could empathize with her curse, the fact that she could not feel any kind of joy, and how that can make a person very bitter, and how she had to fend for herself from such a young age. I did find that quite compelling. I could empathize with that. It was really well done with the author conveying how sad and miserable her existence was, because when I first read the synopsis I thought, oh, she can't feel like love for other people, but I didn't even think that this would extend to like not being able to feel warmth, not being able to appreciate the beauty of a sunrise, not seeing colors properly, all of that. So I think that was conveyed very well, and I actually found Tamsin kind of compelling. I definitely preferred her from the two main protagonists because she has something interesting going on. Now Ren, on the other hand, there was nothing wrong with her and she was definitely likable, but I've never read a more naive character than her. Honestly, just such naivety to the point where I was really frustrated with her inability to learn from her own mistakes and like evaluate a little bit. She definitely was way too trusting. I felt like the romance, especially on her part, just happened so quickly and randomly, and I'm not even saying it's unrealistic, because with her personality, she's the kind of person who will just latch onto someone and just like make them the center of the world. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but that's the vibe I got. Definitely like a puppy love, you know, when you just meet someone and become obsessed even if they're mean to you or whatever. For that reason, I feel like her falling in love so easily was kind of realistic, although I don't know if the healthiest thing. At some point you just want to grab her and be like, come on now, think, use your critical thinking, stop just believing everyone and everything. Especially her relationship with her father, I think this is touching upon themes a little bit. If we jump into themes from characters, a big theme was like family and family relations, and there was definitely a lot of complicated relationships then, because even I think Ren and her father, when I read the synopsis, I was, oh, she cares for her father because of course she does, because she's a loving daughter. And while that's true, her father guilt trips her so hard, and I feel like this was never properly acknowledged, how manipulative some of his actions were, because he'd literally be like, if you were not here sacrificing every moment of your life towards caring for me, I would be dead. So how can she ever leave and find out who she is? She's had to lie about her power to her father because he's like scared of magic. She's had to hide that part of herself for her whole life. She's given up going to the Switch Academy, even though that's what she really wants to do. She really wants to learn more about magic. She's fascinated by it, all of that. She's given that up. And I feel like if it was her own decision, like, I have to stay because I have to care for my father, that'd be one thing. And that was a part of it, and I totally understand that sometimes you just have to make some sacrifices and care for people in your life. I appreciate that. But just the fact that he was telling her, like, if you ever leave me, I will die, then she can never leave. And it just felt really manipulative to me. I don't feel like any of this is spoilers, by the way, because it literally happens in like the first couple chapters. The first relationship we explore is her and her father. So this happens really early in the book. And then once he gets sick, again in the synopsis, once he gets sick from the curse, which takes away your memories, so the curse took away his memories, and he's fine. He's walking around the house, cleaning and doing all of that. We're supposed to kind of understand that his illness is not a physical illness, it's more of a depression. And while that's extremely serious and should be taken seriously and helped, I feel like you should not put all of this emotional labor on your child, because he was the parent and she's already lost her mother, and that really crippled him in terms of emotional resilience. He just didn't have anymore. But she was like 8 years old. She's had to care for him since she was 8 years old. That relationship was really grating on me, and I think I was expecting her to come to terms with the fact that it was not okay to put all of that on a little girl, on a child, on an 8-year-old. It was not okay to just leave her to do most of the work. It was not okay to make her the primary caregiver. I feel like that was gonna be addressed, and she was gonna realize and was gonna have an honest conversation. And there was some reconciliation in the end, yes, but it was not anywhere near what I wanted. So I was a bit disappointed there. Then we have also Tamsin, who also has a complicated relationship with her family. Her family history is way more spoilery, so I'm not gonna get into it. It was enjoyable to read about it because I feel like that kind of complicated familiar relationships not always explored. So it was interesting. I did enjoy it, but I felt really bad for these children being put in such a position. The romance itself, although it was kind of cute, I found it a little bit hard to get on board with because Tamsin had no love or emotions and she ever was just annoyed. But if you want a sapphic romance that's kind of cute, in the end, the ending especially was cute, and if it's kind of like enemies to lovers kind of vibe, they had the sharing one bed trope, so all the good tropes are there. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And something that I really actually liked and appreciated about the book is that the kingdom itself is not a kingdom, it's a queendom. So the queen rules them, and that's completely normal. And I really like that homosexual relationships or like queer relationships were not frowned upon and being disgusted or whatever. They were just normal. So there was even like a couple in the village that's two gay women, and that was kind of like the norm, and no one's really said anything against the two main characters falling in love because they're both women. Like, that was not a plot point anywhere. So if you enjoy a story that's free of homophobia but about a homosexual relationship, there you go. That's not very common because a lot of times you will have relationships about queer people but it will be about the trauma, and this is just purely like a fantasy that has a gay relationship in it, and it's not about the trauma of it. Like, obviously they have obstacles they have to overcome, but it's not because they're both women, it's because of the magic, of the curse, of all of that. I think those were all the big points I wanted to touch upon. I feel like I usually also talk about plot and writing. Both of them were fine. I liked the writing style. I think the author was good. I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook narrators were good as well. There were two of them, and I think the author did a good job of describing the world because the Tamsin can't see the beauty, so Ren would be the one seeing the beauty. So I think that was done pretty well. Plot was interesting and not super predictable, I guess, but it had some trope that maybe you can see through. I did enjoy the book. I think it's just not my cup of tea. So, you know, if you do enjoy fantasy, standalones, looking for a sapphic story that doesn't talk about the trauma but rather just them living the world, then I would recommend it. I think I gave it 3 stars. Tell me, have you read Sweet and Bitter Magic? And if you have, what did you think about it? I'm really curious. I haven't seen that many reviews, but people do seem to enjoy it, and I think they especially enjoy the relationship. So let me know in the comments. But otherwise, if you could comment anything you like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next video.